continue our discussion on hope. We will just study today how how the message of hope continue to march in history. We still have it today a little bit, but not as much. But we uh, we learned earlier that after the fall, God gave the message of hope to man by the promised seed. So that is the beginning. And it continues. Today, of course, the nation of Israel, because they rejected the Messiah, they are still hoping for the coming of the Messiah. Because we know that he already came. Well, as Christians, we are hoping, we call it the blessed hope, we are hoping for the return of the Lord. So, still that message is there. Let me read to you again, Romans chapter 5, verse 1 to 5. Therefore, since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. We have also obtained access through him by faith into this grace in which we stand. And we boast in hope of the glory of God. And not only that, but we also boast in our afflictions, because we know that afflictions produces endurance, endurance produces proven character, and proven character produces hope. This hope will not disappoint us, because God's love has been poured out in our hearts through the Holy Spirit who was given to us. So the hope that God gave us does not disappoint, because it's a positive expectation of good. Hebrews 11:1 again, now faith is the reality of what is hoped for, the proof of what is not seen. So there, faith has a substance. Now, of course, we know that the first great power was, let's begin with Egypt, of course. Egypt was very powerful, was able to extend its power through the land of Canaan and even up to some portion of Syria and Turkey in the ancient land. But then that power is up and down because others continually try to rebel. So the first great empire in the book of Daniel is the empire of Babylon. It was followed by the Medo-Persian empire, and then followed by Greco-Macedonian Empire. Now, the Greek Empire is very interesting because it carries with it Babylonian thoughts, but the Greeks developed a philosophy. And then we have, very popular to us, are the Greek mythology. It's the Greek mythology, especially with their gods and goddesses. Who is Zeus in Greek mythology? Who is Zeus? They forgot, Brian. You need to teach them. You know. Zeus is the chief of the gods, okay? Now, what happened is, they created man, but there is a certain god named Prometheus. What did he do? Fire. What did he do with the fire? He stole the fire, right? He stole the fire from the gods and gave it to man to help man. So, this is your basic Greek mythology, okay? So we're just reviewing a little bit. So, because Zeus got upset because the fire was stolen, what he did was ask one of the gods to make a what? A woman. That's why the woman was made. Why was the woman made? So that the woman will bring misery in the human world. So the woman was made by the gods so she could bring misery to the human world. Why did Zeus ask one of the gods to make the woman? So that he can counter the blessing of fire. Because fire is such a game changer. It will make man happy. They can roast some eggs, no, some chicken and some pigs. Yeah, they can enjoy their food. They can have warm during the winter. So to counter that, the woman was made. So the god, one of the gods, made a very beautiful woman. What is her name? Eve. No, it's not Eve. What's her name? Huh? Pandora. Have you heard of the Pandora's box? Maybe you have a different Greek mythology than I do. Okay, so just listen to my version. Well, you're studying classics. You know this, right? You don't know also, you're just nodding your head. What kind of school do you have, huh? So, so Pandora was made and he was given to man, right? The gods gave Pandora a gift. What is that gift? A box. Very good. Pandora's box. That's it. Very good. Now he remembers his mythology. So what is inside the box? Huh? The box contains all kinds of evil against the human body and the human mind. There's one positive thing, though, inside the box. All are negatives except one. It is called hope. There you go. So there's one positive thing in the box, hope. Now, the problem with Pandora is because she's a woman, she is very, how should you call it? The gods told Pandora, don't open it, okay, because all kinds of evil will escape. But obviously, she's got Filipino blood, you know. So, which carries the quality, how you call it? Usyusera, you know. So, what's the English of usyusera? Usury. No, that's not the translation. So she decided to open the box. So when she opened the box, all kinds of evil came out, and she was shocked. Wow, all kinds of evil are coming out. So she immediately rushed to close the box. But after closing the box, she realized that all evil escaped. There's only one that was left in the box, and that is hope. Okay? So the only thing that did not escape is hope. So humanity still have hope. That's what Greek mythology teaches. So there, you can tell that even from our myths and legends, there is always this hope that whether we experience all kinds of misery, somehow there will be a light. There will be something positive that can come out of it, because hope did not escape Pandora's box. Okay? So your Pandora's box is not the one that's full of candies, okay? This is the mythology that we have, and so that's Pandora's box. So now you will hear people say, don't open it, it could be a Pandora's box. What that means is all kinds of negative things can be coming out of it, so don't open it. Don't start that, okay? That's why we're giving that saying. But there is a real message of hope that's very positive in its expectation, because it's based on the promise of God, as we've been studying. Now let me read to you Psalm 118, the whole chapter. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His faithful love endures forever. Let Israel say, His faithful love endures forever. Let the house of Aaron say, His faithful love endures forever. Let those who fear the Lord says, His faithful love endures forever. I called to the Lord in distress. The Lord answered me and put me in a spacious place. The Lord is for me. I will not be afraid. What can a mere mortal do to me? The Lord is my helper. Therefore, I will look in triumph on those who hate me. There's hope there. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humanity. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in nobles. All the nations surround me. In the name of the Lord, I destroy them. They surround me. Yes, they surrounded me. In the name of the Lord, I destroy them. They surrounded me like bees. They were extinguished like a fire among thorns. In the name of the Lord, I destroy them. They pushed me hard to make me fall, but the Lord helped me. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. There are shouts of joy and victory in the tents of the righteous. The Lord's right hand performs valiantly. The Lord's right hand is raised. The Lord's right hand performs valiantly. I will not die, but I will live and proclaim what the Lord has done. Mostly that verse is being quoted pertaining to healing. However, the context is certainly regarding a contest, a battle that is raging around a person. Here it's David, literal war that could snap his life. But then he said, I will live. The Lord disciplined me severely, but did not give me over to death. Open the gates of righteousness for me. I will enter through them and give thanks to the Lord. This is the Lord's gate. The righteous will enter through it. I will give thanks to you because you have answered me and have become my salvation. The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. This came from the Lord. It is wondrous in our sight. This is the day the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, save us. Lord, please grant us success. He who comes in the name of the Lord is blessed. From the house of the Lord we bless you. The Lord is God and has given us light. Bind the festival sacrifice with cords to the horns of the altar. You are my God, and I will give you thanks. You are my God, I will exalt you. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good. His love endures forever. Now, in that psalm, you can tell human struggle, specifically David. And in the midst of that struggle, expectation. What's the expectation? Victory. Surrounded by death, what's the expectation? Life. So there is always, and this is actually our lives. We will experience negative things, but no matter how hopeless it looks, in the depths of our hearts, we're expecting that somehow we will be freed from that. Some of the human activities are based on this. Gambling, for example. We have somebody working for us, and he told us that from time to time he goes to the casino, and we ask why. He said, if I have no more money and I need to pay some rent, I'll go to the casino and hoping I will win. He said, you see, that's the hope, hoping I will win. And I said, did you win? He said, from time to time I will win. He said, but he said, you don't. The moment you win, you run. You don't keep gambling because you will lose it. But he was hoping. In the Philippines, we have sweepstakes. We have Lotto there now. Why? The poor people are hoping they will strike the right number and they will be delivered from poverty. The U.S. is the same. We have Lotto here also. Can you imagine the moment the pot goes to as much as I think it went as high as $1 billion at one time. Wow, the people's hope are there even though they're very poor and they cannot afford anything anymore. They'll buy something. That's the hope, okay? You have this Zelensky guy. Certainly Ukraine is outmanned and Russia has more technology. But they were hoping they'll be able to defeat this giant. So he solicited the help of the other allies, hoping that they will help. And all of this is based on hope. And you look at the news, you'll find positive, negative, up and down. Our country went through a lot of changes, and that march is the big change actually started in the 20th century, last century, and I will explain that later. It's not something that is sudden, but we are still hoping we'll be able to save our families. We know our families are already ruined. I mean, you have. I was listening to one news. One child was transitioned, and the parents doesn't even know. I mean, what's going on there? That hope is actually ruined because the socialism of Russia and the communism of China already proved to be a total failure because they want the state to raise the children. The Israelis experimented on that one because when they moved to Israel, it was a very small population. So their form of government is communism. Israel was communist when they began. It was based on kibbutz system. So because there are very few, everybody has got to work. Nobody cannot work. So the moment you have children, they have a nursery, and some people are assigned to take care of the children. And the parents will be able to see him a couple of hours or so, but then they will sleep without the child. On the weekend, they can take care of the child. But then very few hours for the child. It's the government-appointed nurses that will take care of children. But then Israel began to to grow in family. So they decided to spend more time with the kids. They changed their constitution. Okay, it's no longer communism. It's now democracy, but it's a different kind of democracy than the U.S. has, because the U.S. have a lying democracy. Why? Because when the people say this is what we want, the government says this is where we will go. You see, because if you remember that congressman from New York, the one that was removed from office, he said, he was told, you are supposed to be representing the people. Said, what he said was no, it's not really like that. We are the representative of the people to make the decisions they can't make, because they can't make a decision. So we will make the decisions for them. That's a different take of democracy. You see, that's not really democracy. That's the rule of the few. And so our hope continues to be shattered. We have some time wherein we will have economic development. I remember during the time of was Bill Clinton, and we have some members before saying, "Oh, I can retire at the age of 35," because the money was so good, the economy was going so well. Then, of course, it went down, because after that you have who's the next president, the second Bush, which was plagued by the Iraqi war. So what happened? We just dive into more debts. So it's squashed again. So what happens after that? We were looking for hope. What happened? Obama came. The audacity of hope. Well, what he did was made us hopeless, you know. So what happened is they advance a different agenda, you know. And so there is a driver that I met in Washington, D.C., and he was telling us that me and my wife were in the taxi. He said he's not Native American; he's an immigrant. I don't know what his accent is, but he said when Obama ran for office, he said their hopes were very high. He said, I have driven Obama, he said, a few times from the hotel to the Capitol building. And he said that week of the election, when the polls are showing that Obama will win, he said Obama happened to ride in his taxi. And he said, he told Obama, Mr. President, and Obama told him, not yet, don't jinx it, you know, not yet. Let's go for the final result. And he said to Obama, he claimed, he said, oh, don't you know, you are ahead of everything. We will be voting for you. But Obama says, caution him, not yet, not yet. But the expectation is so thick, you can smell it, you can see it, you know. And then here comes Trump, the era of loudspeakers, you know. I mean, that guy's mouth is so loud all the time. And he lifted our economy, and the prestige of the U.S. is back, because, you know, Obama was a president who always apologized to everybody. So what happened after that is it became up and down, because Trump will give you good news, and then he will say bad things. So it's up and down. Well, here comes Joe Biden. Hope during Joe Biden just slept, you know. It keeps sleeping. We don't know what's going on. And he's in recent history, he's the only president after occupying the White House. There's almost no news. You know, this is a different era, and so Trump promised certain things. On the first day, I'm going to do this. Well, people's hope were up, but certain things, of course, can't be done the first day. But now it's like this. You know, they're saying that his popularity is at 53%. That's still not that much, you know. But this is our history. National, in the international scene, it is the same. That is actually our lives. We keep going up and down with hope and no hope. But as I said, it is actually partly based on the Greek thought, dominated by that story of Pandora, and is still with us today. The Greek thought is still very influential today. So, the message of hope in the Western world, because there was a time wherein the West just dominates everybody. We're talking about Europe now. And then, of course, America became included. But Europe basically just, whatever they do is being followed by everybody, you know. And so the message of hope in the Western world, in the beginning though, after the Christian era, was largely dominated by, by, uh, by faith. You're talking about the Judeo-Christian faith. And it is defined as the expectation of positive future anchored on the promise of God as we have been studying. So now the problem is you begin to have wars after wars, okay? All throughout history, you will have one nation rise, overtake another nation. The age of wars was so much. It is killing tons of people. I mean, in the millions. You isolate Chinese history, the danger with Chinese history is in, in their ancient times, they are willing to kill millions of their people. I mean, the latest was Mao Zedong. How many millions of his people did he kill? Something like 30 or 40 million, you know. So the Chinese have no problem eliminating some of the members of their society because all they have are people back then. So even in the ancient wars of the Chinese, they will march 1 million soldiers. They will lose 200,000. That's what they have. And so the Chinese are very tired of it. And so they want to be influenced by the West also because the West was marching. And so they want to be influenced by the West also. But then the Chinese, of course, doesn't want to share anything. That's been in their history. Even the way they cook, they don't want to share the exact recipe. Even their Kung Fu masters, they will not share all the techniques. Because their philosophy is if one of my disciples rebel against me, I have one move that can kill him, you know. So they will not share everything. Because although they are progressing, there is this negative aura that something negative may happen. So their hope is always being tampered by negative things. I told you about the Romanians. And I were visiting one Romanian family, a big house. And during the time, this was in the 90s, early 90s, their house was already worth over $500,000. And so I asked, what do you do? She said, well, I work at home, computer. And she said, my husband is a truck driver, makes a lot of money. So she said, we have a big house, we have lots of money, and I'm scared. I said, why? Because there's too many positive things happening in our lives. And the moment there's a lot of positive things happening in our lives, something negative is about to happen. You see, that's a positive, and the expectation now is a fear. And I told you the same energy, but hope is the positive expectation of good. Fear is the expectation of something wrong, something negative is going to happen. So we even have in history the search for a good place, a utopia, you know. At one time, they say that in the Pacific, they found an island where it's very in its pristine condition. And so they went there and found out they have some sickness that is unique to them. At one time, the utopia was Europe. But then Europe was burdened with all kinds of wars. And then they looked for the new world. The U.S. now became the utopian place that they were looking for. So let's use U.S. as an example. Before, even now you will still find it in some textbook that they were not able to revise. Some people actually compare the U.S. to the nation of Israel, and they compare Europe to Egypt because the pilgrims came out of Europe. So Europe is Egypt and U.S. is Israel. And some even begin to say that the U.S. is one of the lost tribes of Israel. I don't believe any of this, by the way. But then we know that in those days when Columbus sailed, Rome was about to reject all the Jews. And so a lot of the boats of Columbus was actually sponsored by the Jews. They're looking for a better place. And so a lot of them came here also. And so some believe this is their promised land. But then, of course, we know that all kinds of war took place also. I mean, the Americans, not we, because I'm not European, I'm Asian, you know. They drove a lot of Indians. They killed a lot of Indians. And so it was a very bloody war. And finally, the Europeans were able to drive them in the reservations and all of those and all of those things. So there is this negative air again that took place. There's a lot of blood involved, all throughout human history. Now, so what happened is, people say, because people were very religious, you look at the ancient times, there is a God for everything. So they say we need to escape from these gods. We can't put our hope from theism. Humanity have always believed in God, and look where we are right now. So, I mean, you look at the nation of Israel, they even use that. They say, look at the nation of Israel. They're so powerful in the ancient times, and then this would happen. They are in dispersion. So they lost their land until 1948, of course. But then they begin to say, so what are we going to do now? And that is when the age of enlightenment came. Hope was now transferred to human reason. Human reason became supreme. But not only that, it's not only a departure from Greek mythology. When you say that faith is now, or hope is now on human reason, the height of which, you're talking about the 18th, 19th century, not only reason, but progress and science. That's why now, if it's not scientifically provable, if you can't prove it by science, it's false. Science becomes supreme. And so somebody very influential can say, well, the science says this. Even if the science doesn't say that, people just gravitate towards science. And so now we say, well, let's be logical. That's the age of human logic. Let's think about it. Well, common sense. My problem with common sense is, if I have been telling, I don't believe in common sense. I believe in sense, being sensible, but if there is such a thing as common sense, then all of us have it. But obviously, we don't think the same way. So, the age of reason came, and we found out, no, logic is not the answer, because it was not able to prevent wars. I mean, can you imagine leaders will be sitting down on a truce, peace treaty, like let's have an alliance, and they bite each other. They kill each other. Look at Russia attacking Ukraine, and now Ukraine is where a proxy war is being fought right now. It became, if you will remember when that war first broke out, one of the items that always comes out in the news is this the new proxy war between global powers? Because before, we know that the Middle East is the testing ground of the weapons of destruction that the West invented. So now is it Ukraine? And we saw how they tested a lot of the weapons that were built by Russians, by Americans, by the English, by the Europeans. And so is this the new proxy war? It turned out to be exactly like that. But man, we know that human reason, logic, doesn't solve problems. It makes us more hopeless. I mean, some of us, people will be giving us advice. We are so logical, we don't listen to advice because we're so smart. What happened to our lives? We become more miserable. So even with counseling, professional counseling, counselors are, I have talked with professional counselors when I endorse some people, and they'll tell me, how can I keep my counseling? They don't listen. So you will go to a counselor because you are hoping they'll give you an answer. They'll give you counsel, and you refuse to follow. You are going against your own idea. And so this is an ongoing thing. So they say, well, logic will not solve it. So after the age of reason, what happened? The age of feeling. It's what you call as the romanticism. Okay? So now you have from I thought to I feel. Okay? So whatever feels good, do it. That's from the romantic era. And some of us are like that. We put our hope in that. If it feels good, it must be correct. It must be right. Well, we found out feelings, human feeling is very unreliable. And so now we have another problem, because we found that it's not gonna do us any good if we'll just continue to be romantic. If reason will be replaced by feeling. So we're trying to look for what is in between. By the way, the U.S. doesn't have, Europe has a romantic era. But the U.S. did not go through romanticism. There was no time for it to transfer to us. We have the First World War, and then we have the Second World War. The closest that U.S. have to romanticism is the Jesus movement. Yeah. If you will look at some of the videos, the hippies, you know, if it feels good, that's what it is. That's the closest thing that America has come to. But if you will look at that, in all of this transition, you are actually redefining hope. But then this is what happened in the 20th and the 21st century, which I was referring to earlier. So before, because of religion, the basic source of Western philosophy is the Judeo-Christian faith, not just the U.S. It's the same in Europe in those days, and so it moved to the U.S. We're founded on a Judeo-Christian background. Now, I already told you that the age of reason failed, the age of feelings failed. So now the concentration goes back to it, but in a different name. Well, before we believe in God, we believe in the Judeo-Christian values of the West, namely the Europe, and then it transferred to the U.S. But then it brought all of these things because it's not taking into consideration new birth or human renewal by being born again. So what happened was this. In the 20th century, 1900s of course, and then this century, the U.S. specifically, Europe has already done that, we begin to move away from the Judeo-Christian faith. That's why you will find that we are trying to disregard the Judeo-Christian value. That's the timeline. And we are in the thick of it. You know, so you will find that everybody is, why is it that anti-Semitism keeps on rising? You thought it's dead, and then it keeps rising. You thought the Holocaust will put some sense on humanity. No, it does not. And the worst that we have seen in our lifetime is October 7, over a year ago. I mean, clearly the rest of the world know that Israel was attacked, but now you listen to UN resolutions and all debate, it looks like Israel attacked Hamas. It looks like they're the murderers. It looks like they are the villains here. What's going on? It's a result of the departure. And I don't know what news is this that I was watching. Like in Europe, the number one name now, I think that they like to name their children is Muhammad, something like that. And so the shift is so dramatic. What is going on? You see, because we moved away. The moment you move away from something, you need to replace it with something. Europe and U.S. moved away from the Judeo-Christian faith. You have to replace it with something. You cannot take away something without replacing it with something. What are you going to replace it with? Well, here comes the Eastern religions, Buddhism, yoga. You know, some of you are so much into it already, I think. And then I've repeatedly told you that's the beginning of the Hindu faith. It's not a simple mental exercise. No, it's the beginning of the Hindu faith. But people keep dismissing it. But that's it. It goes to our seminaries now. And so you are removing the Judeo-Christian faith. Now it's being replaced by Eastern religions. By the way, in the 80s, Lester Sumrall prophesied that it will happen. It's happening already. And then not only that, here comes the Islamic religion. Just look at Chicago. A lot of the churches that are being vacated are being bought by Muslims. Now, I have no problem with that if they have the money. They buy it. I mean, no Christian is buying it anyways. What are you going to do with it, you see? But they are getting away with a lot of things that they shouldn't. I was driving before. I think I was in Lawrence, coming from the east and going west, and this prayer call. They were saying, it's happening in Chicago now. Prayer call, I can hear the loudspeaker. It's happening now. Because that's noise pollution. It's not allowed. You are not supposed to disturb the neighbor. It's disturbing neighborhoods. And it went on for days, and then some neighborhood complained. But, but what's going on? Because you are taking away the Judeo-Christian faith, you have to replace it with something. You know, the favorite comic character, Captain America, who's that actor? He was interviewed and he was talking about the idiocy of belief in God. You are abandoning the Judeo-Christian faith. So it's empty. It's now wide open for what the Bible tells us about the Antichrist. Now remember, the Antichrist is the one who will bring false peace. Why will the world gravitate to it? Because we are running out of hope. So now the U.S. keeps moving away from this Judeo-Christian faith. Look at the television. They have now renewed the anti-Semitic rallies in, was that Columbia University or something? I thought that was over some time ago. Now it is in its second week. What is happening? Again, you take away the Judeo-Christian faith, you have to replace it with something. You can compare it to any Christians. Okay, for example, you say, well, you know, I cannot go to church. That's too much. I've been going to church all my life. Remove church from your life. You have to replace it with something. You have to replace it with something. If you have lived all your life going to church and then you remove it, it has to be replaced with something. It's not just going to be, I'm not going to church. No, it has to be replaced with something. The problem is you remove it from your life. It's a worship of God. You will not replace it with going to another church. That's a lie. You know, when people say, well, I'm going to go to another church. I have made these observations for years, and normally they will try to prove themselves right, so they'll try to go to another church. But instead of them, they really don't. Because you remove church from your life, you have to replace it with something else. Okay? So that is the movement. And that is when you begin to lose more hope. You change the philosophy of your life, you change your belief system, and it's not good for your spiritual health. And that continues to go on. What is sad is in this march of hope, there are some people who begin to say, well, only this life. In the Philippines, there are two ministers. Name is Butch Conde. I think Sister Yoli used to attend his church. They have a big building in Delta Circuit. I visited it twice. Huge building. And they have, I think, one of the first prayer mountains in Antipolo that the Philippines have, copied from Yonggi Cho. And it became very popular, you know. Butch Conde used to attend our church when he was young. And so, man, this guy is doing great. He built this phenomenal auditorium, thousands of people in it, and then he sold it. And then there's another minister, his name is Ed Lapis. You know, they make jokes of his name because it's Lapis, you know, pencil. He's the brother of Big Ball Pen, something like that. But Ed Lapis, before Butch Conde, Ed Lapis was asked, what will happen now once you die? Ed Lapis said this, the moment I die, this ministry is over. That's it. What will happen to your staff, to the Christians? Bahala na sila. So that was a terrible statement, like you don't want perpetuity of what you're doing. So he was criticized. Butch Conde sold his building, and then he was asked the same thing. He was asked, what will happen to you after you die? What happened to the ministry? He said, bahala na sila. The ministry will die after I die. It's up to them. You see, there's the losing of hope. What is going on? You are vacating certain things. Because before it's discipleship. 2003 Webster Dictionary defines hope as the feeling. Look at this. The definition now is the 2003. The feeling that what is wanted can be had or that events will turn out for the best. You see, now feeling is center. Today, it's still feeling. How do you feel about it? You know. Now, when we are being asked, well, I don't feel like, that's That's the mode today. And so, what do you feel like eating today, child? Well, the guy has been eating sugar for 10 years, and you're still asking, what do you feel like eating? Okay, can you imagine now, your son or your child is sick, take this medicine. I don't feel like taking it. Doesn't taste good. So don't take it. Then you're going to get worse. Now, a lot of what we do is based on feeling, no longer on logic. That's why people keeps making decisions without logic. You see, and that is so bad. Well, I feel like do you like this job? I don't feel like it will work for me. What do you mean you don't feel like it will work for you? What has feeling got to do with it? You look at the salary. You look at the work hours. You look at the schedule. You look at its benefits. You look at the stability of the company. Nobody's thinking like that, you know, because we are now on feeling. How do we date based on feeling? Yeah, I mean, the logic should be, well, I'm dating this person. This person has a job. This person finishes school. This person is reliable. No more. I feel like this. You know, how do we base our love on? Feeling. Do you have feeling towards me? Yeah, I feel like I want to smack you, you know, something like that. But we ask ourselves now, how do you feel? Instead of being using standards, it has to be standards, you know, because in the Bible, when you talk about marriage, there are standards. That standard is gone. It's based on feelings now. Even in some section, do you feel like a man today or a woman? Well, I feel like a cat today. So today you're feline. You know? Tomorrow it may change. I may feel like a woman, so I'm a woman. It's based on feelings. It's the worst kind of romanticism, and that's really a lot of hopelessness. When Nicolae Ceausescu was ousted, because the Romanians are very romantic feeling. My friends told me this. The problem is we were able to oust Nicolae Ceausescu, and after that, some of our people play their music because they love music. They go to the mountains and they muse on, oh, we were able to be freed from communism. We ousted Nicolae Ceausescu. Now we are free. And they're saying that, now we are free. And Ovidio told me, and we did nothing. Because we just feel good, and we did nothing. We just did nothing. So what happened? You took away Ceausescu, you replaced with what? Nothing. You see, no progress. See, because we feel like it. Look even at U.S. politics. After certain things is what we feel. We don't look at the future. We don't look at progress. We don't look at sacrifice anymore. It's based on what we feel. That is now where our hope lies. I mean, like us as a congregation, and you as families, what are you basing your decisions on? I mean, years ago, it doesn't matter how little we have. We're looking at the future. We don't want our kids to fight over certain things, so we made our will. You know, we made our will. Me and my wife, we have our own power of attorneys. All of that is done. If something bad happens to me that requires negative medical attention, and I cannot make a decision, my wife will make a decision. If she cannot make a decision, somebody else will make a decision. We itemize that. Now we are both healthy. We're still dreaming. We're still going to be doing a lot of things. But we did that. It's not based on feelings. And some Filipinos, why are you asking me? You ask the parents, did you do the will? Why are you asking me that? Huh? Do you want me dead? There is no logic there. No, we want you prepared. Okay? We want you prepared. My mother, because we have properties in the province, I keep pushing my father. Put the titles in your name. We have all their lands. So put the title in your name. My father got upset with me. Why, you want my properties? I said, no, Tata. I said, I'm thinking about Nanay. I told my father, I'll give you my word. You change everything in your name, I will take none as an inheritance. I was still young. I said, I will take none. Yeah. That's why we were left with the house, because when my father died, none of the titles were in his name. So nobody surrenders anything. So what happened, all we have is our house. So they were selling it. So what do you want, Jose? I said, nothing. That's the word I gave my father. Yeah. So what is that? A lot of us has to examine ourselves. Are we still making decisions based on what we feel? Because really we moved away from logic. Because if we are still making decisions on logic, if we are putting our hope based on logic, we will not be making a lot of the decisions that we are making. We will be logical. You know, I'm buying a house. Where are you buying a house? Is it a place where neighborhood is good and the evaluation is fast? Because some neighborhood, you buy a house there, you stay there. You don't even go outside, you know. Now, if you are logical, you say, well, the increase in the value is low, I will not buy there. The neighborhood is bad, I will not buy there. But why is it? Why is that we keep making bad decisions based on feelings? Yeah. No logic. And I don't know how many years I have pounded it on this congregation. If you want your children to be in good school in the future, start in their kinder, in their elementary. Put them in good schools so that when they are in college, they are prepared to take on the challenges. But we are making decisions. Well, I feel this is good. I prayed about it. What did you pray about? Did you really pray? You see? Even that has to be challenged. So hope is now based on feeling. Now, there are so many people who desire. That's why, by the way, that's why I think if I look at the Western world, including the U.S., hope is almost gone. We are very irritable now. I mean, we don't. The expectation of what is good. Look at the hope of the seed. Thousands of years before Jesus came. 2,000 years since he left. But that is hope. It's a seed. You plant. You're not impatient. You wait. If you are hoping that you will harvest coconuts, I mean, after 8 years of it growing, that is when it will bear fruit. Now we want instant results. Can you imagine in the last presidential contest, Trump promised, and on the first day I'll do the following things. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Because he knows the temperament of the people. They want instant result. There's no more patience. Hope is gone. You know, that's why we don't invest for the future. DJ has a full-time job, and she has the how do you call that? The IRA, right? How do you call that? The pension? Roth IRA. Yeah. So I think after one month, she was looking at the report and said, "Papa, I made some money." So what do you mean you made some money? Some investment. I said, "What investment?" He said, "My Roth IRA. I made $1.07. Whoa. $1.07. But she said, because I told her, you know, you're living in the house, you should be saving at least 30% of your income. It should go towards savings. Because she's not paying for her food, rental. I said, maximize whatever you're putting in the retirement. I said, the savings has got to be 30%. Is it 30%? Yeah. So she's putting savings on 30% savings. And because she wants to go on missions, pay for it, of course. She wants to go on mission in 1 week. I said, no. I said, it's a bad decision. It's a bad decision to go on missions for just 1 week because she wants to be in the dedication of the headquarters. She said, Papa, I'm going to buy the... I said, no, it's a bad decision. No, that's a logical decision. You're going to be there for 1 week. So what did she do? Okay, it has to be spent anyway. I said, what do you mean? Well, if I'm not going to use it, it has to be spent. So she was internet shopping. You know. So I said, stop it, because it's not logical. If you have some money that's not spent, save it and use it for something else for tomorrow. But again, we are very impatient now because a lot of our hope has been dashed. You know. I think if we will go around the room today, a lot of our hopes has been dashed. And we don't know where to hold on to. I mean, you are hoping this will be your life, and that is not your life. You are hoping this will be... So a lot of dashed hope, and it's very discouraging. So now, let's focus a little bit here. By again continually looking at some of the statements made regarding hope. Um, President Herbert Hoover of the U.S. said this, okay? 19th century and 20th century. He died in 1964. Herbert Hoover said this: "In no nation are the fruits of accomplishments more secure." He's talking about the U.S. And he said this: "I have no fears for the future of our country. It is bright with hope." This is President Hoover. He said, "I have no fear concerning the future of our country. It is bright with hope." Yet we know what happened to America next. Right now, our nation is engulfed with fear. We have $37 trillion debt. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you agree or not with Dog E or Doge. If I was thinking the people will rejoice. Oh, you are finding excess and mismanagement of money. I don't care what party you belong. You should be happy with it because we're trying to save some money. We're not. You know, we're not. It's like, hey, there's a thief. Hey, don't say it's a thief. No, that's a thief. It's just like, have you ever, by the way, we may criticize that, but have you ever bought something that you can return? That's a lemon. Hey, you bought a lemon. Return it. No. Why? Nakakahiya eh. It's the same. You found something. If we buy something and it's rotten, I don't care if it's banana. If my wife buy a bunch of fruits and then found out she goes home, there are 2 rotten persimmons at the bottom, she will take it back to the store. She said, "I am buying a non-rotten fruit. My money is not rotten." She will return it. But most of us will not. You know, that's why I always joke with my wife. She's my bulldog, you know. If I want to fight somebody, I'll send my wife. She will return. Well, that's your policy. That's the store policy. You know, you may laugh. At one time we were in Florida. We shopped at what's the store? Walmart. Onions, garlics. So at the end of our trip, not everything is consumed, and they say you can return it. My wife actually returned. And she got the store credit. And I would not even get off the car. I was embarrassed. You see? But something that is not used that can be returned, she returned. Now, that's logical. It's in the store policy. If you don't like that people to return, then don't put it in the policy. But some of us have bought rotten products and we refuse to return. That's just the way it is. Okay? We have a member before, you know when, nung mauso yung vacuum cleaner, power vacuum with water. So at one time, I think my wife was the one using it. So my wife broke our vacuum cleaner. So we were borrowing from somebody. Can I borrow a vacuum cleaner? I said, sure. He was very, I have plenty. I said, you have plenty. So we go to his house. He really has plenty. I mean, like 4 of the highest brand that are expensive. He has it. I said, why do you have all of this? You only need one. He said, oh, I'm shy. I don't want to return anything. I don't want to say no. That's not logical, you see. That's what's happening. So look at this. Oh, everything is going to be okay. This is what President Herbert Hoover said. He said, the future of America, it is bright with hope. But now you look at our nation here. I mean, the debt alone, $37 trillion debts. That's a lot of money. And you would think that Americans will think about let's tighten our belts. It's just like you guys. If you are deep in debt, you will stop spending. You will try to use up everything that you can use. You're a fool if you are making $1 and you're spending $1.25. And you know that. You try to save, that is just logical. But we don't have that anymore. Uh, you know, can you imagine who's not being interviewed in Colorado when this trend, how do you call it, Trendiago, something like that, you know, and they were smashing the locks, and and one of the anchors says, "Well, it's only a couple of apartments," and what? What? Just a couple of apartments, and the interview was a shock. Listen to you, just a well, you know, there's just 1,000 terrorists that came in the country. What's that? There are just what? 30,000 children that are now in sex trafficking. What is that? There's no logic, you see. So we have deteriorated because, my argument is because we have moved away from our morals. We have moved away from the Judeo-Christian faith. That's why if we are feeling hopeless and we want that back, you've got to go back to the roots. The roots are the Judeo-Christian faith. It's based on belief in God. You remove that, you will replace it with something else. So, Barack Obama's election was heralded as the triumph of hope over fear. You remember his slogan, the audacity of hope? However, after his election victory, the world dilemmas and terrors have begun to cast their long shadows. What's this? What's this prize? Nobel Peace Prize. After he was elected, they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. He has not accomplished anything. You know? And he was given a Nobel Peace Prize. Later on, the committee said, well, we were hoping he will accomplish something. Well, if that is now the criteria, all of us here should have a Nobel Peace Prize. Right? I mean, who am I to say that DJ will not be an astronaut? You know, maybe she will be crazy one day and she decide she'll be an astronaut. Because hope is just positive expectation. They say they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. They were hoping. They were hoping. So now you don't need to accomplish anything anymore. Some people, what if I run a school, say I run Harvard University, I will give you a bachelor's degree in economics because I am hoping you will study and you will graduate in the future. That's how he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Was just hoping, you see. But we know that's why if it's not based on the Judeo-Christian faith, it's on unstable ground. It's not founded on the rock. Now the Western worldview has become more crazy. We are confronted now with complexities, and the problem with our age is it's globalism. Everything is interconnected. Earlier on, remember Brother Mon Alborte, he was explaining to me the logic behind the European Union, because I don't fully understand it back then. Brother Mon was telling me some of his frustration because he was an executive, two top executives in Asia for Colgate-Palmolive, so they're dealing with business in Europe. So he was explaining to me, he said, you know how the concept of European Economic Union, he said it's noble, but it's not going to work. I said, why? He said, because everybody has got to make money, and everybody has got to buy something from somebody. So he told me, let me make it simple for you. He said, these are the nations, say 10 European nations. We need to brush our teeth. We need oral hygiene. You will make the toothbrush, the rest will buy from you. You will make the toothpaste, the rest will buy from you. You will make the dental floss, this nation, the rest will buy from you. So everybody has a business. Everybody makes money. And he said, in simple terms, that's what European Economic Union is. I said, oh, that makes sense. But he said, the problem is this. He said, it does not take into consideration laziness. It does not take into consideration national governance. What if this government is dictatorial? What if this guy? So he said, it doesn't work that way. And really, it doesn't work. So now what we are seeing is everything is in chaos. So Because our lives are interconnected, we continue to be challenged by the terrible things that happen. Why is that but that Biden opened the borders? Our lives are interconnected, something like that. We don't want them to die. So now, if I am Mexico and if I am those Latin American nations, I can continue to be corrupt. If my people are starving, I'll just send them to the U.S. See, there's no logic to it, you see. Now, what happened is, another thing that we have seen is the October 7 massacre in Israel. That is one of the most evil and frustrating things that we are still watching. Have you seen how quickly evil has turned? From sympathy from the world, now the world is attacking Israel again, as if they caused the massacre. And because of these hostages that has been released, you listen. They were, to save bullets, they smashed some baby's head on a tree. So they will save bullets. And then the rest of the world was still indifferent about it. You know. And I've heard some of the dissenting speeches in in NATO regarding this, calling out their errors, and they're upset with it. It's very evil right now. Now, the Western worldview, which is science, progress, did not take fruit, so economic failure has worsened. And our global leaders refuse to address it seriously. I think everything translates to families. I think even in the U.S. we are not addressing it seriously. I think even in our families we are not addressing it seriously. You know, if you are sick, and there is remedy, you will go to the doctor. You don't go to a quack doctor. You go to a real doctor. And the real doctor said, this is what needs to be done. If you are serious about cure, you will get the cure. That is logical. Now we don't do that anymore. Look, if I want counseling, this is the problem. I'm having a problem with my family, so I have counseling with her. And she can tell me, this is what you need to do. I mean, very wise. We are now happy when we hear something wise. Very wise. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Okay? Without considering who she is. Now she has the same problem. And she will not apply her own solution. She will not apply her own solution. So it's very chaotic. So we know we can tell other people. The amazing thing is, we like telling people what their problems are. Why can't we follow the scriptures? Do not try to remove the dust from your neighbor's eyes when there's a plank in your own eye. Look at yourself first. I mean, if you cannot solve your own problems, if you keep stumbling into chaos, shut your mouth. Stop giving advice. Start listening to wisdom. Have understanding. That's what the Bible says. Have understanding. Are we serious in trying to solve our problems? So we put it on science and technology. Just look at those two astronauts that were stranded somewhere, you know, and we have not brought them back here. So now, I think negatively we can say we are living in a hopeless world, and this is again primarily caused by us moving away from the scriptures, from the Judeo-Christian faith. Everything in our society has already declined, and others are still fast declining. I mean, just look at our genders. It's how you feel. By the way, don't do that here in this church, okay? Don't go to the women's bathroom and say, you're a man, and you say, I feel like a woman today. I don't care what you feel. You will leave that bathroom, okay? It's just crazy. We have lost anchor. So education basically shapes the mind and the direction of our society. Like my kids are in school, so I think they will have days wherein the teacher will say, let's talk about our feelings today. What do you feel? These kids don't know what to feel. There's a October 7th, Hamas a bomb or kidnap this. You ask the kids, how do you feel about it? They don't know anything about it. And you're asking them what they feel. They are playing video games. You think they feel anything? They feel their thumb pressing at those things. They're not looking at these things. Their minds cannot handle it. And so my kids were telling me at Jones, oh, this is lousy today. Whereas, how do you feel? And I said, Papa, what do I feel? I have no feeling over this, but I have to say something. And then they will talk about gender. If you say, well, I believe in two genders, the teacher will be upset with you. He's not interested in how you feel. He's interested in indoctrinating. That's why our education has been failing us. But before it's U.S., Now, no more. Yeah. I can't believe the report that even on English grading, China is ahead of U.S. Have you heard that Chinese speak English? How in the world can they be ahead? Math, perhaps I can say it. But English, the U.S. is below them now. What is happening? You see? Now, the moment, if you are a normal human being, you say, well, something has got to change. Well, our legislators don't want to change anything. When you translate in your family, say there's something wrong with your family, and you say, just let it be. That means you're already hopeless. Yeah, that means you're not hoping for anything good anymore. Okay, just let it be. Well, everybody in your family is going crazy. Leave it alone. That means you're hopeless. Now you look at yourself and you begin to say, well, not everything happening in my life is good. I don't like what's happening in my life. Let me help you. No, let it be. Then you're hopeless. You don't want anything better with your life anymore. You see? And that is what's happening. So that is what happened to the hope that is in the world. Now let's look at what Christian hope substantiated by faith is. This is the alternative. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, because of his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you. So our hope is called blessed hope. So today we have a lot of Christian personalities that came on the scene. Some of these Christian leaders have differing opinions. And at times, it's really very confusing. What we need to do is to go back where all of this started. I mean, what's this? Some Christians decided, well, we'll build a better world. One of them is based in Chicago. It's John Alexander Dowie, the founder of Zion City, Illinois. Well, they started downtown. Their property in downtown burned twice. And then their property in Zion City burned also. A lot of miracles. I mean, John Alexander Dowie probably brought the healing gospel in the U.S. But then there's this idea that was injected in his head that he is the prophet Elijah. He began to believe it. Yeah. So they put their hope in this man. So they moved to Zion City, Illinois. Well, it collapsed. We have Ortiz in Argentina tried to build the same commune. Now, there is one commune now that is developing in Ohio. Okay? I'm not sure about the details, so I will not give it to you yet. It's in Ohio. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Indiana. It's Indiana right now. There's a big Christian group right now. They are buying acres of land. And I have listened to the guy several times. Buying acres of land. He's building Christian school, building Christian farm, building all of this. It's the duplicate of what happened before. Why? Because we are now putting hope on individuals. We're putting hope. Families have that. My hope is in my firstborn. My hope is in my only child. I have seen that here. Their hope, oh, my child will buy me a house. Yeah, what did your child do? Sell your house, not buy your house. You see? This is what's happening. We are putting our hope on individuals. You cannot do that because our only hope is in God. But that is why I'm saying hope is dead. It's, if not dead, it's gasping for its life. And we are now going into different personalities. One of the lousy things that I've heard is, I think it was James, the basketball player. He was making comment years ago about politics. And he said, the problem with these uneducated people, and I was watching him. What did you say? Problem with, he's the uneducated one. And he said, the problem with this uneducated, he is uneducated. Not because you have millions doesn't mean you're educated. I mean, but now he's saying, you uneducated people, he is uneducated. What's up? But people are listening. Why? Because we are now putting our hope in individuals. And sad to say, even in the Philippines among Christians, it's now personality-based. You know that here in the U.S., you can now earn doctorate degrees based on personalities. Yeah. There is a doctorate degree that the Methodist Church has been offering before. Well, what's this? In King's University, I attended the School of Pastoral Nurture, and they have a DMIN program that I was accepted in. Of course, I did not pursue it. But your doctorate research will be based on the life of, who's that guy? The founder of in Van Nuys, California, I forgot his name, Jack Hayford. The dissertations are based on Jack Hayford. Now you are basing your degree. There is in Kentucky a Methodist University. They have a doctoral program. It's based on Kenneth Copeland. Yeah. The doctoral degree is based on Kenneth Copeland. What is that? You are focusing now well, in the secular world, they will have a PhD, for example, but not on the person, but on the philosophy, on the idea. But now it's focused on a person. It's something else. We keep, that's why I think it's a preparation for the coming of the Antichrist, because it will be based on a person who will be making false promises. You know, that's why one of the most, who's this, Les and Leslie Perot, they say that a bad marriage is when two incomplete individuals get married, because they are hoping they will complete each other. Like Jerry Maguire, you complete me. He said, that is so bad. That is so bad, because our completeness is in Christ. So when you have two incomplete individuals getting married, incomplete multiplied by incomplete is incompleteness maximized. Okay? You have to be a complete person. I mean, if there are no DEIs, if there are no government intrusion, will you hire an employee that is very defective? You know, you will not. You will find a perfect fit. Of course, they will not be perfect. But the person can do the following things. If they can't do the following things, they will not be hired. But now, especially in marriage, because based on feelings, even if you know that is a potential problem or very problematic already, you just keep dating because based on feelings. It's centered on individuals. Christian hope is based on the promises of God. The universal plan of God is the biblical hope. Look at this, Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. I will put hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. He said to the woman, I will intensify your labor pains, and you will bear children with painful effort. Your desire will be for your husband, yet he will rule over you. Some people call this the first evangelistic, the first gospel. But here, God said in the Garden of Eden, the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. That's hope. Was fulfilled 4,000 years later. Now that's the blessed hope. It's not, it's not a quick solution. Most of the quick solution is going to fail. The tank of the house that we bought in the Philippines, both tanks have a leak. Now, one solution that was given by the brother of my wife is change the tanks because it's already old. That's logical. So my wife told me, are we going to change? I said, no. She said, why? I said, I'm not there. I want to see it first. I can only make the right decision if I'm there. So, don't do it. I said, let's have somebody weld it. Well, the solution was put an epoxy and put some rivets on it and an epoxy, and it will solve it. Will it solve it? Yes, temporarily. I know it's going to be temporary. But because I'm not there, I'm not going to do it. But the moment I'm there, I'm going to replace it, most probably. Why is it? Because for something, the hopes are not immediate. Look at the headquarters in the Philippines. I have been preaching that for years, at least 2 decades, for years. Well, it's maturing, and now we are conveniently buying the building. But if you think you announce something today and tomorrow it's done, no. Your child will have a dream. I want to be a millionaire. Well, they don't even have $1. But you know, you can believe it because it's hope. I want to build a great family. That means you have to work on it. It's not something that you will be despaired over or impatient with. It is something like a seed that you keep nurturing, planting, watering, until it grows. There will be challenges, but you keep growing it. That is Christian hope. Christian hope is based on the promise of God. And the promise of God are yes and amen. But it doesn't happen right away. Jesus promised 6,000 years ago. He was born 4,000 years later. We have been waiting, the Christians have been waiting for Him for 2,000 years now. God is not bothered. Because there is what you call, as in Galatians chapter 4, perfect timing. There is a timing on everything. If you don't follow timing, you will mess up everything. You see, I was watching an interview of 2 young actors. They get married and they divorced. So they asked, why did you divorce? You are most ideal couple. And the answer is simple. They said, oh, we were young. I was listening to it. And both of them are saying that, well, we were young. And so the one interviewing, what do you mean we were young? Oh, we were young and foolish. Why did you get divorced? Oh, we were young and foolish. Now, can you imagine, you already know that you were young and foolish, but then they divorce again. Now, the answer is no longer, we were young and foolish. What's the problem? Well, we just decided. They're not giving the answer. We just decided to part ways. Before, they were young and foolish. On their second marriage, well, we just decided that we will separate. There is no more logic. See? Because to build a good family, I mean, you need, there has to be time. There has to be patience. You will notice that the moment you get married, you think you know the person. No, you have no idea who the person is. Because when you're dating, they'll try to show their good sides. It's after you say, I do, that they will be real. You know, and it's a surprise. You know, my wife thought I have real teeth, only to find out they are real, made by the dentist. You know, but there are some progress. Now you don't get discouraged. You say, I will work on it. I will work on it. Now, people who lose hope, they drop their vision. They drop their dreams. That's why I'm very happy with the acquisition of our property in the Philippines, because now you're seeing it as an example. We bought our first building, second building, and I told you in my spirit there's still a third building. But I'm not running up and down, where's the third building? No, let it mature. Let it develop. Can you imagine if we bought our third building and we are in debt? Where will I get the money to buy the headquarters in the Philippines? There's so many things. You know, our house develops some equity. What if I'm like some people, I'll borrow money so I can buy the following things. I'll buy one new car for everybody, which we can do, you know. No. We were asking the question, why is God giving this to us? Only to find out that we will just put forward half of the purchase price with our own money. Yeah, so it became useful. Now we know the purpose. But it's not lost. It's there. So it's not something that is wasted on something else. I can go back and say, this is where it is. Anne is going to inherit some piece of property by the airport, the newly built airport. I told Anne right away, I don't like that. I said, I'm married, so I don't like that. But now because we are having headquarters, I said, Anne, listen, maybe, I said, if the airport is going to be built there, we can build a headquarters there instead. That's near future. We're talking about 3-4 years. Now I'm finding purpose. But that is not something that is conceptualized today and is happening tomorrow. That's what hope is. You have to base it on the promise of God. You need to exercise patience. You need to exercise endurance. If you are impatient, your hope will not become a reality. You need to work on it because hope is promise and fulfillment. Promise and fulfillment. If you go ahead of time, if you go ahead of God, you will lose your hope. You know, allow our children to hope. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a nurse. James wants to be a lawyer, and then because of these cuts in budget, he was alarmed because I think the department is telling that they will eliminate this. He's about to have 2 degrees. It will be eliminated, so he will have no degree. So I told James, sue the school because they offered a degree, and then they're going to close it. I said, sue the school. You know, oh, we're going to be allowed to graduate. But you see all of this agitation that is taking place. But you've got to be patient. Now, if he is foolish, he will say, well, the degree is not going to be offered. I'm going to change course. You know, I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. I'm going to be a client now, you know. No, you don't do that. You look at the challenge and say, how am I going to go around it, or how am I going to defeat it? The issue is, how am I going to defeat this mountain in front of me? And that's what all of us are always confronted with. How are we going to defeat this mountain? But people are no longer thinking that. We are now looking for a superpower. Who will help me remove this mountain? No, you ask yourself, how am I going to move that mountain? And the answer is in the scriptures. You move it by your faith in Jesus Christ. If you have faith, you can tell this mountain, be thou removed. We don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to do that anymore. We want others to move the mountain. You are in debt, you want somebody else to pay for it. Why? You are the one who borrowed the money. Why will you expect somebody to pay for it? That's bad hope. That's not good. You create the problem, you solve it. You see? And so now we look for blaming it on others. That's not hope. So we continue to be hopeless. We have to go back and put our hope in God. Amen. Just so happened that I ran out of time, so we'll just continue tonight, okay? Let's all stand. Praise God.